बोला गुरुदेव की जय। श्रीमन महाप्रभु की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री श्री निताय सच्चिनंदन निताय 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 चांद सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय। श्री राधा गोपाल गोविंद राम की जय। गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंद हरि बोल। So, pranam to all of you. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. And today we are switching to another topic. These days we have been sharing some questions and answers, and different topics have been asked about. And we try to share some ideas. So today the idea is to speak about the concept of chastity for the proper disciple. Hopefully it's not too much of a scary title. But actually the title comes from certain words that have been shared at certain point by Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj. And the background for speaking about this is because some days back Mohini was suggesting some possibilities of what to speak about these days, and one of the points was here she was asking, which was my favorite quote by Srila Siddhar Maharaj, or favorite section, talk, or whatever, in the context of in our particular Sangha, both Srila Prabhupada and Srila Siddhar Maharaj are kind of our spiritual, how do you say? Grandfathers. So it's interesting and important to, of course, become acquainted with our legacy. And even though if someone like Srila Siddhar Maharaj is not officially someone else's grandfather, if you will, in terms of uh, institutional connection, if you will, or certain mission, and at the same time, he nonetheless is a very crucial figure, I will say, for all the Vaishnava community. Srila Prabhupada himself considers Srila Siddhar Maharaj his Siksha Guru. That speaks for itself, I would say. And his own guru, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also says so many nice things about Srila Siddhar Maharaj, like, I can leave this world at any moment. I know there is someone who will know how to represent my teachings, my ideal, and so on. And he was deeply appreciated by all his God brothers, God sisters, considered like a natural uh, representative of their Gurudev. So in this way, he's a very particular, as my Guru Maharaj will say, Srila Maharaj represents the very figure of Siksha Guru. All that Siksha Guru speaks about, this type of guide, but at the same time, friend, someone like you can trust in, like will really nourish your faith beyond whatever affiliation you are with. I mean, he will go to the active principle, Shraddha, if you will. The idea for us is that Shraddha is to be our deity. So whatever the Shraddha is, whatever faith each one of us, each one of you have, that's to be honored, that's to be worshipped, that's to be nourished somehow or other. So Srila Siddhar Maharaj was really expert in this, in trying to nourish each one's faith, no matter which background this person was coming from, and so on. And that's totally a secondary affair. The primary affair is Shraddha is there, and it is to be nourished. So, what's the necessary vitamin you particularly need in this particular stage for your particular type of Shraddha? Let's provide that. So, in this way, he was like a well-wisher to the whole Vaishnava community, and that's why also he received such a name. When he received the order of sannyas by Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta, he was named Bhakti Rakshak. Bhakti Rakshak means guardian of devotion. He himself was described by his followers, the guardian of devotion. So someone who will stand there and protect the integrity of the ideal and make sure that whoever wants to cross through the door, if you will, of bhakti will do it in proper terms, with proper understanding. So they will really attain all the different successive steps in the ladder that are waiting for them. So, and this today's topic, interestingly, also will be is somehow a preface to what we were speaking today in the evening. I don't know which time we are speaking, but evening, afternoon.
Yeah, evening.
So we'll be speaking about Guru Tattva. So here today's topic is connected to the disciple. So to speak about one thing is to speak about the other thing. You cannot speak about Guru without speaking about the disciple, because a guru without a disciple is no guru, and disciple without guru is no disciple. A teacher without student, how much of a teacher he can be, she can be, and a student without a teacher, how much of a student one can be. So the two of them are like interdependent, and the two of them ultimately speak about one another. It's the same person from different perspectives, because a real student, a real disciple will naturally be guru, whether he or she is giving diksha or not. I mean, to be guru is not limited to initiation. If you are a proper disciple, you are guru. You are an agent, a representative of that divine agency. And if you are guru, you have to be disciple. I mean, the real guru will be the best disciple. So in one sense, guru and disciples, at one point, the two notions kind of merge one another, and basically show two sides of the same coin. That was the idea that came recently. To be a guru means basically to remain a student, but from a different seat. No? You are changing the seat in the classroom, but you're still student. Srila Sri Maharaj himself, that's one of the favorite quotes, and my Guru Maharaj likes to invoke this idea. And constantly he will say, we are students forever. In this school, at least, in this school in particular called Gaudiya Sampradaya, we are to be students forever. There's not a point that we will claim no longer student, now fully a teacher. No. Full teacher, no, but not fully a teacher. A real teacher won't ever claim, I've known it all. And today's lesson will speak about this. So yeah, I consider this will be a nice trailer to what we were sharing later today. A nice compliment for today's uh, today. Basically, today Friday we will a day dedicated for Guru Tattva and Shishya Tattva. Shishya means disciple. So the truth about Guru, the truth about disciple. So this section. This is not something written by Srila Siddhar Maharaj. Since Srila Siddhar Maharaj hardly wrote anything, he wrote, of course, Prem Dhamma Deva Stotram and some other poetries in Sanskrit, very refined ones, to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to songs for his Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta. But most of the things we know from him are transcribed discourses he gave. Of course, you read them and you feel, oh, he wrote this. He had this capacity of speaking as if he were writing, which is not that easy. But actually, he was speaking. He was not sitting and thinking what to put and how to. No, he was just flowing in revelation. So this is an excerpt of a bigger transcription of this point of chastity for the proper disciple. This was published in the website, Harmonist website, some time back. There is a bigger version of it again, but here is an abridged, abridged version. So I prefer to share that one so as not to go that long. But if someone would like to go to the full meal, if you will, which is quite considerably longer, you can let me know later and we can share that transcription with you. So I will be reading this. Generally, I do not used to read too much during lectures, but it's also good to read for sure and to comment on some of the things that Srila Siddha Maharaj is mentioning here. So basically what we will have here is his reply to the question of one student that is asking him, what's the meaning of chastity for a proper disciple? Again, the idea of proper disciple may sound like redundant. Like when sometimes we hear the word Sadguru. The other day someone asked me, Maharaj, what's the difference between Guru and Sadguru? So I say, ideally, there should be no difference. Because Sadguru means like bona fide, you use this word? So bona fide guru, and guru means guru, but the guru should be bona fide. But sometimes we have to, unfortunately, clarify that, because in the name of guruship, if you will, some non-bona fide stuff is going on. So sometimes you have to make Sadguru. But to say Asad Guru is kind of an oxymoron, because as a guru cannot be Asad, but you follow my idea. So the same with Sisya. I mean, in the same way as real guru is Sat, is bona fide, real Sisya will be Sat as well. So I won't say this is a cheating disciple. So he's not disciple at all, but sometimes we have to make this terminological clarification or something. No? And of course, Srila Maharaj also will explore the notion of chastity as he understands it, because again, the term may carry some generational cultural baggage, and we may hear the word chastity, and I don't know, the mind of some may go to the Christian chastity belt, or who knows what, or some like just institutional adherence, or being loyal in a sense of fundamentalism and so on. And we will see, of course, that this is not the notion that Srila Maharaj has in mind when speaking about chastity. But he mostly will go to the idea of purity. My Guru Maharaj, sometimes he likes to make a difference between the two, in the sense of generally we understand chastity as something that and he gives this example of the chastity bells, like you have heard about that. So like you somehow not repress yourself, but it's something not so natural yet it's not flowing through you. So you need to control in a little bit more forced way certain things because of lack of purity. But when purity is there is no need for those like measures, you say, right? But we will see that sometimes the idea of chastity can, as we will see, Srila Maharaj will have another idea in mind. Ultimately, he will speak about layers of that. So, and a student is asking Srila Maharaj, what's chastity for a proper disciple? So that one word is contextualizing the other. What's chastity for a proper disciple? So he begins saying, I won't read all in a row. I will go just by parts. And this is one of my favorite things. Again, it's difficult to say only this is my favorite. This is like when sometimes, I don't know, the devotees ask you, what's your favorite place of parikram in Vrindavan? I mean, you're putting me in anxiety, basically. What's your favorite Gaudiya book? It's like, I mean, what's your favorite kirtan? It's like, where to begin? It's so common. Fortunately, unfortunately, we are in that type of healthy anxiety. So similarly here, this is one of many things. There are quotes, phrases, but this is a nice piece of advice, as we will say. So here he starts his reply saying, with the first line, Srila Maharaj has this style. No? I mean, with the first line here, already like we should close the session and just try to ruminate on that for 3 lifetimes, basically. But let's see. So, so what's chastity for a proper disciple? So Srila Maharaj begins. The first line says, chastity is faithfulness to the cause for which we have come. We can stop there. Or in other words, again, he's sharing what's our ideal of chastity, or his ideal with we should make ours as his followers. So chastity is faithfulness to the cause for which we have come. So he's not speaking in terms of, again, relative affiliation, institutional loyalty. He's not also promoting anarchy, and saying kick out all form. He's not like that. We'll know that, of course, he's taking us to the substantial understanding of everything, but of course, in the context of that form has a purpose, but only as much as it facilitates the pursuit of inner substance, because form without inner substance is basically an obstacle, entanglement. So we have come for a cause. We have come for an ideal, basically. An ideal has come to us, I will say, to begin with. It's not that we someday, at least not in my case, not that one day I woke up and said, okay, from now on, I will pursue the ideal of Sriman Mahaprabhu. I didn't have a clue who was Sriman Mahaprabhu, but Sriman Mahaprabhu knocked on my door in the form of his bhaktas, and the ideal came to me. And then I was charmed by that and said, okay, I want to pursue this idea, but the ideal pursued myself first. So that's also an important point to begin with. I always remember Thomas Merton saying this nice thing. He says, when you are praying, we can apply that to our chanting, it's not that you are taking the initiative. Like, I'm calling Krishna, I'm going first to him, and hopefully he replies. No, it's not like this. He himself first came, and then we are trying to return the embrace he has thrown to us, if you will. So it's important to engage in our practice with this idea, but not so much, oh, I'm doing all this, who knows if something will come from the other side. If you are doing that, it's because something came from the other side first to begin with. Because if not, you will not have even a clue about what we are doing for whom. So no, we have come for a cause. We have joined a cause, a mission, as we spoke the other day in Finland. When we speak about the mission of Mahaprabhu, the mission of Srila Prabhupada, the mission of our Gurudev, the mission, we should bear in mind this notion, what's a mission? Because generally our mind goes, mission is the building, if you will, the legal name and institution. And that's one aspect of the mission for sure. But that's not the spirit of there's a spirit to the mission as well. Like when you say, I have a mission in my life, you're not speaking about bricks and walls and buildings. I have a mission, I have an idea, I have a cause. And in order to pursue that mission, a mission may be formed in the more institutional sense, like what Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta did. Okay, let's establish Gaudiya Math, like a mission. But behind that mission, there's another mission, if you will. There's the ideal, there's the pursuit of the cause, the ultimate cause. And if sometimes, let's say, the external mission gets in the way of the internal mission, we should know which to choose, if you will, in that case. And he himself said that when he established his Bhag Basar Gaudiya Math in Kolkata, this incredible marble temple, that was part of his gross, if you will, mission, the external form of the mission, to facilitate the pursuit of the internal mission. That some devotees were starting to quarrel against each other about the different rooms in the math. I want to sleep in that bed. I want that corner for me. All this type of entanglements that sometimes come with this type of things. And he got so much frustrated, if you will. And he said, I mean, this was not the idea of making a marble temple for you to get attached to the marble, to the walls, to the bricks. It was to take the attention of people. Oh, marble temple, something fancy may be happening there. Let's go. And there we we give the real thing to them, like a preaching strategy. So, and he said, you are misunderstanding the mission. The external form of the mission is getting in the way of your understanding of the internal form of the mission. So I will sell all the marble. I will sell all this construction and will print books and try to spread the inner mission, the message, to carry the torch of the mission. If the external thing gets in the way, once Srila Prabhupada said something similar, he said to Chutananda, my Guru Maharaj quotes this, when they were like, how do you call the legal papers for ISKCON back in the 60s. So at one point he said, of course, so many legal things had to be written there, and this has to be done like this, and this is like this, and all this bureaucratic language has to be used and filling those forms. But Prabhupada at one point said, but the essence of all these rules and regulations and things that we are writing here is ISKCON should be conducted on the basis of love and trust. That's the essential part of the whole contract, if you will. So we are making so much effort and sacrifice to create this on the basis of love and trust, but it's at some point, all this institution we are creating, he said, that is to facilitate love and trust. At some point, institutional concerns get in the way of love and trust. The same effort we have put to construct this, we have to put to dissolve this, if it gets in the way of love and trust. Like implying all the thing I'm making is for all of us, all of you, to relate in the context of love and trust in Krishna consciousness. If that mission, if that cause is forgotten for the sake of who knows what, then that's not like fulfilling its purpose. So we should recalculate, like the GPS says, no? Recalculating. When you go into the wrong, recalculating, no? It's on this side, not in this side. So this was happening with Srila Siddhar Maharaj. You read one line and lost and found. No, sorry. So he's saying this: no, chastity is faithfulness or loyalty to the cause for which we have come. In other words, again, the cause came to us first, knocked on our door, we moved our heart, we felt ourselves identified, called in that direction. The sadhus, we saw ourselves inside that cause, if you will. When we hear the message of the Vaishnavas, we saw ourselves in our fullest potential there. Oh, what they are speaking to me is who I always thought I should be and how everything should be. They are presenting this ideal prospect. So we joined the cause with some initial, ideally with some initial like inspiration and desire for dedicating ourselves to the cause. So, and in other words, what he's starting to imply here, and hopefully we get to the rest, he's saying, we joined this mission with one ideal in mind. Like, generally in the beginning, we are pretty idealistic, and it's okay, that's necessary. So what he's implying, I will see he will unfold, this is, please do not lose that ideal as your journey progresses, and do not get again distracted by other things that will appear on the way, but all of them will appear for you to further embrace the ideal, not to further dilute your embrace. So let your initial faithfulness and chastity not only remain in time, but get stronger and stronger and stronger. That's how the abhishar should be conducted. Abhishar means like, how to translate that in English? Like love journey. For example, when Krishna plays his flute and Sri Radha is somewhere else, she hears the flute and she just like leaves everything behind and runs behind the sound of the flute without any consideration. So the journey from where she is to where he is, that distance that she's like treading is called the abhishar, like the love journey. The call has been made, the cause came to our door, is calling us, the flute call, and we are. So similarly, the jiva is on an abhishar. All of us are on an abhishar, love journey. The call, the flute has sounded, and we are. But on the path of that, and the point is that, no, when Sri Radha is running after the flute, so many things are on the way. Sometimes it's night, she's leaving home, it's entering the forest, there are serpents there, it's raining, so many obstacles, if you will. But for her, all these obstacles act as udipana, or like stimulants, to increase her longing to reach her beloved. It's not like, oh, I'm getting discouraged, so many obstacles. No, she's feeding herself on the obstacles. She's nourishing her pursuit on the obstacles. That's the example given in the Prema Samput. When the lion meets an elephant, the elephant wants to attack the lion. So, oh, it's an obstacle. But the lion fights with the elephant, kills the elephant, and feeds on the elephant. So the obstacle end up being a nourisher. So similarly, whatever obstacles comes in our path are to nourish our inspiration, not to discourage at any point. You see the Goswamis, they want to join Mahaprabhu. Sanatana Goswami went into jail. Raghunath Das Goswami was in the jail of his home because their parents didn't allow him to join Mahaprabhu. Gopal Bhatta wanted to join, and Mahaprabhu said, take care of your parents, still not wait a little bit. So all that so-called obstacle only were throwing further and further fuel to the fire of their longing. So that's how it works. So that's the point that Srila Sridhar Maharaj is trying to, with only the first line, trying to give us. No? We have come for a cause. Do not forget that, ever. So many things will happen in your life. So many things in many directions. So many tests will come. And we need those tests to come. Because if there are no tests, you cannot still prove where you are standing at. The tests help you to locate yourself, to see where I am on the map. So we should even pray for tests to come. Not because we are masochists or something, because the tests are not suffering. I mean, I know that if tests are coming, those tests will show me where I am standing. And I don't want to fool myself, to cheat myself, thinking that I am somewhere where I am not. So I need those circumstances that will show me you are here. And you'd say on that day that you want to be here. Still you want to go there? You are here. You want to go there? You are here. And it's okay. We need to establish these two things, as my Guru Maharaj will say. Where we want to go, where we are. And what's the avishar in between, the love journey, the thread. And the two are equally important. So it's easy about it. It may be relatively easy to speak about where we want to go, where we want to go. Where we are, sometimes that may be a little more painful because it's like, oof, I don't, to fully acknowledge where we are with all the, I mean, actually where we are is totally glorious. That's the point. But sometimes we forgot that glorious side of the blessing that has knocked on our door and just only over-identify with our whatever shadow relative side. I'm there. But at the same time, so much has come yet. So there should be no shame or guilt or problem in acknowledging where we are, because no matter even how far we may be from our ultimate goal, as Srila Vishnu Swami has said, the distance you have walked to reach the feet of your Gurudev and the Vaishnav is much larger than the distance you have to tread from where you are till the ultimate goal. So no matter how long that it seems, if you already walk like this, let's say, and you have to tread this, I mean, you can do it. No? And this will be taken by the hand of the sadhus. No? So that's a really upgraded, maximized journey. So let's continue. Chastity is faithfulness to the cause for which we have come. Chastity is a relative term. Chastity in the absolute sense is unchangeable adherence to the absolute. So now he starts to unpack his notion of chastity. Like in play, many people understand different things for chastity. I acknowledge that, he says, but for us, for me, he says, Srila Maharaj, is in the absolute sense that, again, we may not be in the absolute platform, but it's good to have that as a reference point. What's the ultimate version of chastity? And he says here, no, unchangeable adherence to the absolute. Like unwavering, you say in English? Unwavering fixity on that. That's Nishta to begin with, if you will. Nishta has a lot to do with this notion of chastity here. Because Nishta, sometimes we imagine that is the term described as fixity or determination, like uninterrupted engagement in bhakti. And we sometimes may feel just that person is externally doing so many things that are bhakti, legally speaking. But as we spoke yesterday, it's not enough to do those things that are bhakti or that please Krishna, but to do them with the proper inner focus, attention. So sometimes we may, how to say, like engage in a multitasking sadhana, if you will, over engage. He's chanting so many rounds and doing this, and but the point is, what's the inner motivation? What's the inner spirit? How much we are fixed in the proper meditation while doing those things we are doing. That's totally important. So Nishta has to do mostly with that, not so much with being only fixed every day and chant my rounds every day. I follow this which is great. I'm not criticizing that. But to speak about Nishta in a substantial way, or just in a substantial way, has to do also to do, not only I'm doing these things every day, but I'm fixed on my goal and on the proper attitude towards the goal, and that accompanies and really gives life to whatever I'm doing on the outside. Because if not, that can be niyama graha, what Rupa Goswami calls niyama graha, which means you engage in bhakti, but without the proper understanding, without the proper motivation, probably. And externally, you are doing all these things. You are super engaged, if you will, maybe over engaged, but without the proper inner spirit, inner approach. So Rupa Goswami will say that type of practice is actually goes against your bhakti. So bhakti vinashati, he says. If you want to ruin your bhakti, he says, I will give you sixfold advice, he says in the Padasamrita. Of course, nobody hopefully wants to ruin their bhakti, but he also, as a way of saying, these 6 things will destroy your bhakti. One of them, niyama graha, which has twofold meaning, of course, like being whimsical and not following any rule or regulation, or following all rules, regulation, and do everything legally, but without grasping its essence, with losing sight of the mission. Again, following the external mission, losing sight of the internal mission. Following the external practice principles, losing sight of internal principles. In time, all this put together and multiplied in time, that will give us a result, bhakti vinashyati, destruction of bhakti. So that's something to consider. And that's why Nishta is the opposite of that, for sure, of the destruction of bhakti. It's a fixed bhakti, nourished bhakti, stable bhakti, because what we are doing with a very clear ideal in mind, and we are to nourish that ideal. So, chastity, in the absolute sense, unchangeable adherence to the absolutes. There also may be relative chastity, such as when someone sincerely pursues his interest in a particular plane, separate from the absolute. So you may be sincere on that other plane, but that's a relative form of chastity. However, that type of sincerity is not complete. We think sincerity is only complete when one comes to accept the supreme absolute. We are not condemning other forms of chastity or sincerity, but there is the ultimate form of all that. Because sometimes we may say, I'm sincere. If you're sincere, that's okay. Yeah, but what's sincerity also? There are so many layers and degrees, and where these virtues, sincerity, chastity, and so on, find their ultimate place of shelter and rest at the feet of the absolute. So we think sincerity, I read that, sorry. Other forms of chastity are relative. No knowledge separate from Krishna consciousness is chaste. So, in other words, if you take the center out of the picture, strictly speaking, we cannot speak in terms of chastity, because chastity has to do with reality, with adherence to reality. So if somehow you do away with the center of reality, how much chastity can you speak about? And within Krishna consciousness, also, we shall not think that by getting the touch of Krishna consciousness, we have acquired the whole thing. So that becomes his his real point here. First, he's speaking about, okay, non-Krishna conscious chastity or sincerity. And then, okay, in the realm of bhakti, Krishna consciousness, we have chastity, but there are degrees of that also. It's not that, oh, I'm already devotee, I'm chaste, I'm loyal, I'm sincere. He's saying, do not think that you got a touch of that, a glimpse of that. That's the whole thing. Do not think that you have already grasped everything and swallowed the whole meal, if you will. No? There's so much to digest and ruminate on. So never be so bold as to declare, I have it completely. No? I mean, that would be a scandal for the sages if they hear you saying that. Oh my God, what do we have to hear now? We don't want to put the sages in anxiety. So. When we get the pure conception of Krishna consciousness, the hazy conceptions will vanish. In other words, there are degrees of layered conceptions even of Krishna consciousness. We may have a more hazy conception, if we will, in the beginning, more like generic, abstract. And it's okay, there's something, we have to begin somewhere. The real thing has come, but with how much capacity do we have of dealing with that real thing? It's not that what it has come is hazy in itself. We are the hazy ones. No? So the real thing come, but we are somehow digesting that through our hazy filter. So it's coming, but it's coming in certain installments. So the point that Srila Srimaras wants to make here is, please never think, I have already swallowed the whole thing, and this is it. I know what Krishna consciousness is about. Then you got stuck, as we said yesterday. As we attain different stages of realization in pure Krishna consciousness, to that degree, we become more and more chaste. Chastity means our adherence to the truth that we have come to realize. That truth is in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not a limited thing that one can capture in his hand and swallow. It is of infinite character. There is a gradation and there is a room for progress in Krishna consciousness. So we see Srila really is trying to throw us into the direction of a madhyam mentality to begin with, like this nuanced perception of gradations and room for progress and room for infinite progress, because if Krishna consciousness is infinite and we are to progress in Krishna consciousness, how you progress in something in relation to something that is infinite, it basically means there's room for infinite progress, which at the same time may take you to the situation that try to play out the implications of this. Srila Srimaras one will say, and I like his quote also very much, it's not from here, he say, if you dare to approach the infinite, which is in itself a very courageous project, if you dare to do so, be prepared for that. Are you aware of which are the implications? The implications are that you will always feel there's no limit for progress. There's no limit to how much progress I can make. So in other words, I mean, you will never be able to say, I made it. Because there is so much room for infinite progress that you yourself will find always in a situation where, but not like a bad thing, but the point is that requires deep humility among other things, because that's why you will always feel yourself a student, because the prospect is no limit to progress. So you will never think, already made it, I'm just about to swallow the whole thing, I'm this, I'm that, and in front of you you have like an unlimited ocean of progress. But there should be no problem with that. That's the point. Like when you are in front of the ocean, it's so unlimited, there's no beginning, no end, and you are like this in front of that. But it feels nice to be in front of the ocean. It's not like, oh, this ocean, I don't like this ocean, it has something against me, it's attacking my self-esteem or something, nothing like that. But that's the price to pay. We're walking into the infinite. I mean, the closer you get to the infinite, the smaller you will feel, because the infinite means infinite. Of course, means infinite affection at the same time. So it's not that you will feel yourself dejected or discouraged, but there will be a considerable realization of your smallness in front of such a prospect. But again, there's infinite affection also, so it should be okay. So there is gradation and there is room for progress in Krishna consciousness. I mean, again, there is room for infinite progress. So what to speak now, and there will be room for eternal infinite progress. So we as sadhakas now in this stage, we should be willing to progress, because if I'm not willing to progress now, what to speak of entering the realm of eternal progress? That won't happen. So we have to understand all the things. When we say, I want to go to Golok Vrindavan, no, how do you subtitle that, translate that? I want to enter the realm of eternal progress. And if I want to enter there, I should be willing to make progress here and now. Because if I'm not willing to make progress now, actually what I'm saying is I don't want to go there. And to make progress, as we spoke the other day, means to change. Because, I mean, I cannot say I want to make progress, but I don't want to change. That's like, try to agree with yourself first. I mean, making progress means you have to change. That creates the progressive development. And we know sometimes we are not so willing to change. We are afraid of change, of being changed. But that's what love is about. If you love someone, means that person I love will transform me, will make me someone else, in one sense. Again, in a good sense. But sometimes we are afraid of changing, of being something else, of being transformed. Because just as we say the other day, sometimes because we are afraid, we have terror to those things that are unknown to us. So generally we run quickly to our comfort zone, remain there. Such a relief. I'm safe. I'm safe. I mean, known, not unknown land, but known land. There is one book about Prabhupada, no? So I mean, strange land or something. No? So try to understand this point. I mean, for Srila Prabhupada, coming here was not like remaining in his comfort zone, if you will. All the things. I mean, that's a real journey of getting out of the comfort zone. In the context of love, and was the result of the entering into the unknown. I mean, literally for him was taking a spaceship and going to another planet, basically landing in New York. I mean, what's going on here? Like he sent this famous letter to I think to Narayana Maharaj or someone else. He said, here in New York, he was saying this idea. At night, all the buildings keep their lights on. No, because the whole city was awake actually. No, but I mean, what's going on? And they are driving. They drive their own car. They have their own car. No, and they themselves drive their own car, because at that time in India, only if you were wealthy you have your own car, and if you have your own car being wealthy, someone else was driving that. So probably that they have their own car and they themselves are driving that. Like, what's going on here? So my point is, he was not afraid of the unknown. He really entered into that. Abhai. He was abhai. Abhai means no fear. I have this quote in this world, no fear. That's what Krishna says in the Gita also. Don't fear. Masuchaha. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't fear. Sarvadharmam parityajam amekam sharanam. That's the flute call of Christians we spoke before. No? This verse, Sarvadharmam parityajam amekam sharanam raja, maybe the most well-known verse of the Gita, where Krishna is saying, again, abandon everything and join me, basically, as it began. Join the cause. The flute call is calling, come to me. No considerations, no fear, don't fear. So Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta will say, this verse is the flute call of Krishna. He like baptized the verses. Krishna's flute call. Sarvadharmam parityaja mahamekam sharanam. And my Guru Maharaj used to say sometimes, when I joined my Guru Maharaj's mission, he said, I joined the mission in that spirit, in the spirit of this verse. Sarva Dharmam Parit. I never thought I will live here. I joined here forever with that spirit because I heard the flute calling me in that direction. But some time after, some things happened in the way, and I stopped hearing the flute call in that direction, and the flute call was somewhere else. So I say, well, I never thought that I will have to go somewhere else, but the flute call is sounding there now. So I joined the flute call in that direction, thinking I will remain here forever. But after some time, the flute call was calling me in another direction. So I have to follow that. Like implying, of course, for some other devotees, the flute call will keep sounding in the same place, and for others will sound in another place. That's Krishna's style. He will call you, and when you're about to reach him, where is he now? Where's the flute? But he was playing, and you won't complain to Krishna. Oh, Krishna, I have to run so much and sort so many obstacles, and finally I reach to you, and you are telling me, like he tells to the gopis, what are you doing here? It's too late, and you are late. You should return home. What's going? So in this way, let's continue. We will say that one is chaste due to his own sincere progress, not due to adherence to the figure, the formal conception. Vyasa veti na veti va. Famous line. Vyasa may know, he may not know what is coming through him while revealing the Bhagavad. Such a strong expression is also there. All rights reserved. Krishna consciousness is unlimited, but still there is the possibility of conceiving its purity in its unadulterated form, and the acharyas are giving that to us. In the beginning, a new student who gains admission to a college cannot expect to know anything and everything. We need to have systematic, properly adjusted knowledge. That's a very favorite notion of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, this idea of proper adjustment. He will define sometimes Krishna consciousness as that. Krishna consciousness is proper adjustment. Proper adjustment means some constant adjustment, constant proper adjustment. It's not like I join the whole thing. Okay, this is like this, works like this. Okay, everything's in place. Now go on. No, every single day you have to oil the machine, if you will, and adjust things according to how progress is taking form, how the flute call is coming to your life, and so on. There are many amongst our group who heard Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's advices and words, but only partly. Partly? Yeah. One day, a senior man and sannyasi repeated something Srila Prabhupada had said, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta. Although it related to a particular time and place, he wanted to utilize that in a universal way. I gave some objections, saying, Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada told this. It is true, but this is not the whole thing. He explained other things also, therefore, we have to harmonize. We cannot ignore the other part of his advice. That's a very classical template or pattern. Gurudev say this, Prabhupada say this, or whoever say this. Yes, we are not saying he didn't say, but he also said this. So you need to sangati. Sangati means reconciliation. How to understand the bigger picture. A text out of context becomes a pretext, it's to say sometimes. So if you pick something and present like isolated from its context and from the greater body of statements, you may be using that for your own purpose and trying to justify who knows what, but it may not be of universal application. So it's important to know how to deal with it, what's coming from the acharya. Some of his statements may carry some relative implication. The guru may be saying something very specific and unique to one particular disciple. So you cannot take that and try to establish a universal law, for example. That may not work. And vice versa, the same. He may say something that is for everyone. You may try to relativize that. Say, no. This is only for surrender to Krishna. No, he must have said that to a surrender devotee, but it's not that everyone has to do that. So we may relativize the absolute and absolutize the relative. That's the problem. And when we are doing one thing, we are doing the other thing. If I relativize the absolute, immediately I'm relativizing, is absolutizing the relative. So it can be problematic. You have time for more paragraphs? Yes. I mean, 2 more paragraphs. I don't know what will come in between, but so we finished the section. It says, so we have to come into adjustment and systematic understanding of the words of Sri Gurudev. Systematic understanding. There are gradations in what Guru said. There's a hierarchy of statements. It's not, of course, everything that comes from Guru and Krishna carries particularly absolute implication, but again, these things are to be understood in context and understood. Not all the things are like, for example, I remember one devotee to say, what's the most important thing for Srila Prabhupada? No, and everyone was saying so many different things or thinking what's the most, and he was sharing, compiling so much things, so many things he said. He will say so many different things. The most important thing is chanting your rounds. The most important thing is book distribution. The most important thing is Varna ashram. The most important thing is taking care of the cows. The most important thing is become pure devote. So the point is, so what's the most important thing? And the point is that for some devotees at that particular moment, the most important thing may have been this, and for others will be that. So in that sense, it's absolute for that particular devotee, its statement. But in the bigger picture, for all of his disciples, we could say the most important thing is develop Prem Bhakti, if you will, become pure. That's for all. And ultimately, that may be the long-term goal, but that's the most important thing. But in order to reach that most important thing, for you now, this is the most important thing, for example, whatever may be the case. So all the things have to be understood and adjusted. The partial aspect may sometimes lay stress on a particular point, and who has attentively caught that, he might only take that and nothing beyond. But systematic knowledge of the whole must be understood. In a progressive life, the plane where one devotee may want to withdraw from to make further progress may be the goal of attainment for another devotee. So this point is important. In the progressive life, in this abhisar of love journey, where every devotee is in a different stage of the ladder, step of the ladder, the goal to attain for some is the place to live for others. As we spoke the other day about sahaja. No? And one of the varieties of sahajism is, I should be stepping on a new step in the ladder, but maybe I'm insisting not to do so for whatever reasons. No? So it's important to be aware, no? That someone wants to attain some place and someone needs to leave that place. For someone, certain insight is the goal to attain. For someone, that same insight, it's something one has already attained, and therefore one has to, not to leave that, but to go to the next chapter. And the point is, there will be different emphasis for that people, because if you need to attain this particular goal, Guru may emphasize to you, this is the all in all. And will really make that idea, and you will feel this is the all in all. And it's okay from your particular perspective. But the problem is when you meet someone who needs to leave that particular place and go somewhere else, and you will feel you are relativizing this all in all. I mean, this is the all in all, and for that person, no, this is not the all in all. Why you say that? Gurudev say that to you. and yeah, he said that to me 5 years back also, but now he says something. So all the things need to be like put in place, because if not, we think everyone is on the same level, and that's not reality. That's more a Kanishta mentality. Kanishta mentality is everyone is a devotee. And yes, I mean, all the devotees are devotees, but the Kanishta is not really entering into the complexity of the love journey, if you will, not dealing different stages, different necessities, different emphasis coming from Sri Guru. And it's more like, as we say the other day, simplistic. No, let's give the simple magical formula and don't bother too much. But it's not like that. No? And that's why we find sometimes contradictions, quote unquote, among the statements of acharyas, not necessarily because they are contradicting, but because they are saying different things to different people because different necessities. And we need to accommodate that, because if not, we may be simplistic, and being simplistic doesn't resolve contradiction. It's just putting the carpet, the complexity below the carpet, and everything is okay, fine, nice, let's keep chanting and being happy. But at one point, the carpet will become alive, basically, of so many things you're putting below. So you need to address what's going on. So what may be the object of attainment for the Kanishta Adhikari, a Madhyam Adhikari may withdraw from in an attempt to climb higher, as in ascending a staircase step by step. So this is like, and this will create conflict. This is unavoidable. Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say that many times. Like, generally between Kanishta and Madhyam, there will be some conflict. So what to do? We have to deal with that. We have to go through that. It's not like how we can avoid all that totally. You can't, because that's part of the process. You have to go through that as a Kanishta and as a Madhyam, each one from their side. Because again, for a Kanishta, things are in a certain way, and they're absolutizing things in a certain. And a Madhyam has maybe a more nuanced perspective and understands certain thing, but understands he cannot understand yet this. In the same way, I didn't understand at a certain point. So he should be ideally compassionate, patient, and somehow trying to accompany that Kanishta, also taking care that this Kanishta is not becoming offensive. Because also that's the danger for being a Kanishta Adhikari, that you make think you are deviated, you are wrong because you are saying something different that what I'm saying, that what Guru Dev say. So how to navigate that? That's not so easy always, but that's necessary. Under the guidance of one Guru, there are so many different sections of disciples. All the students may not be equal in their realization. So this sounds simple, but I mean, we have to understand the practical implications of that. You are dealing with people, relationships, and ways of thought, ways of seeing life, of seeing Krishna consciousness, of seeing the Guru. Everyone has the same Guru, but it doesn't mean that every disciple sees the Guru in the same way. But maybe all of them are correct, maybe not, but let's say many of them who are correct still see their Guru in different way according to their realization. But they are correct according to their realization. So you cannot just say, you are wrong because you are seeing Gurudev differently than me. No, you say, oh, you are correct. For that stage, that's correct. You have to nourish that. Even though it differs from how you appreciate your Guru, maybe in a higher way, if you will, deeper way, but you cannot impose that on the other one because you will disturb that. Oh, that's nuanced. So there are different students with different insights. One can understand to a certain extent, one student, another can understand something more. You need some water, Mohini? Can you bring some water? It's okay, it's too much. So one can understand to a certain extent, another can understand something more, and another can understand even more. Because also it's not just two types of disciples or something, there's so much variety. In this way, there may be gradation. Even the senior disciples, that now comes an important, interesting point that Srila Maharaj is making. He said, even the senior disciples may fall back, and the juniors may go up. I mean, that's not a rule, but it can happen. That is also possible. We have seen, and you can also see now. So you study history, the history of our Sampradaya, of others, movements that happen. Many of the older ones have gone away, and the newcomers are showing greater energy. You may find that amongst yourself, as we also found among ourselves. In other words, he says, there are no stereotyped rules. It is a living thing. Because sometimes again, our tendency is trying to capture the thing, and this is like this, and this is how it will work, and this is what will happen, but not necessarily. Ideally, if you do the things, this thing may happen, but so many things will happen in between that are not in your agenda, in your plan, and you have to know how to deal with that. And that's exciting also. Again, this shouldn't be discouraging. Oh no, I don't like that. It's unpredictable in one sense, but in some way that our faith should not be damaged by that. I mean, we should have faith in the ideal, in the mission, but knowing in the context of our love journey, so many unpredictable things will come, need to come. And again, those will be testing our stance. Like Kunti Devi, she was praying, Apunar Bhavadarshana. He was praying to Krishna, send me problems. I could take that like, send me challenges. Send me situations that will test my present standing. And by facing those, I will see you. She's making a play of words there with the idea, darshanam. So by seeing those obstacles, actually I will see you. If I'm sincerely established, those tests will take me to you, because will take me to take further shelter in you. So I need those things. So this can happen, as Srimaras mentioned. Some devotees may come, may be very advanced, and for whatever reason, they may fall back or disappear for some time, or different possibilities, not just one thing that may happen. Even some devotees in their practice may walk a little bit backwards, not because they are falling, but just because the particular situation requires that they go back. Like when you want to jump some, I don't know, some little river, and if you are walking, you cannot just jump that. So you need to go back, take some distance, and run and jump. So it seems you are going backwards, but it's a backwards forward, if you will. So again, it's not just one model how everything happens. Some may be falling, will return in this life, in another lifetime. Some may be going backwards, but they are going forward. Some will be always going forward. Some may be always going back. But again, there's not like fixed rule. This applies to everyone, because again, it's a living thing. Love moves in a crooked way, says Rupa Goswami. Aheri bhagati primnasra bhava kutila bhavet. Love, he says, moves like a snake in zigzag. It means it's not walking in the straight line like you can predict. Oh, it's coming here, so I will catch him here because it's going here. So I wait here, and I don't know, we will do like this, and you remain here, and love will be like, who knows where. It's unpredictable. Again, the flute of Krishna is not like, oh, it's sounding there, so let's go there and we will meet him for sure. And when you reach the point, it's there now. So that's how love moves. So we want to develop love. We want to enter into a world of love. That means be ready for unpredictability. You cannot go with your calculated agenda. Okay, Krishna, here I am in Golok Vrindavan, so everything should be like this. Now, I mean, you will never be able to say that to Krishna, even if you want to go to that plan. That's calculation and control, and that's Maya. I mean, that's the meaning of Maya. Maya means that thing that can be measured, the tendency to control. But if you want to enter the realm of love, you have to transcend Maya altogether. So that means when we speak about the absolute, well, the sweet, charming will of Krishna, no stereotyped rules. I mean, you cannot just impose your plan on him, but be willing to be carried in whatever direction unpredictability wants to take you, and trust. Again, of course, if you don't have the necessary faith and chastity, all the things I'm saying will be totally terrifying for you. Like, oh no, I will remain in my safe, comfort zone. Everything is safe and controlled, and I know how everything happens. And okay, nobody will, in one sense, totally force you out of that. But on some level, yes, circumstances will show you need to, at least gradually, in a user-friendly way, step out of your comfort zone a little bit, a little bit more, a little bit more, and embrace this unknown, unpredictability, understanding that that's real comfort is waiting me out of the comfort zone. Chilazimar's, one of my favorite quotes, of course, he will use also this idea of home comfort. Like implying you have the comfort zone and then you have home comfort, which is outside of the comfort zone. But for us, outside comfort zone is no comfort. Now he said, no, outside of the comfort zone, you have home. You have the comfort of home. But that's not, and that's of course ultimately the real comfort. The so-called comfort zone is not too comfortable, actually, ultimately. Let's go to the last paragraph with your permission. Form and substance are two different things. And here is the main difficulty in our progress. He quotes one verse from the Bhagavatam, Shriya Sadharma, and so on. Progress means to deal with these difficulties, to stick to one's former position, and beyond that, to make progress, advance. So Srila Samaras, many times he will describe progress as dealing with the difficulties presented by form and substance. That's a nice way to put it. What's progress? What does it mean to progress in bhakti? To deal successfully with all these different challenges that form and substance present to you. Like in every single challenge or situation in your life, you have this, if you will, this choice: form or substance, form or substance, formal understanding, substantial understanding. What I am embracing, the external shell or the inner principle, if you will. So at every single day and stage in our day and life, this choice is being presented to us, to our free will. You have free will. What does it mean, free will? Form or substance. We could present it like that. Which is my choice? I embrace the external aspect of things or the internal consideration. And that means progress. To progress from a lower understanding to a higher understanding, from a more substantial idea, a gradual way, sustainable way. We are not promoting paranoia here or neurosis in the name of progress, because it's a very delicate process. So sometimes, again, it may take time. Sometimes we may need to go backwards, as we say, to embrace substance with a proper quantum leap that requires some going backwards and jumping and so on. And here he mentions something also very nice. He says, if advancement is not sure in a particular given situation, you are not so sure that by doing this I will progress, it is judicious to stick to the former position. Like if I'm not sure if I will jump and will make it to the other side of the river, if you will, maybe better wait for a minute and remain where you are. Not like being conformist or complacent, but in some dynamics, you may be not so much in the spirit of let's jump there, but just let's wait for a minute. What happened next, and let's see what direction to take. So if advancement is not sure, it is judicious to stick to the former position. If there is any doubt of progress, one should stick to the former position. So if you are not sure by doing this I will progress, then don't do it. Do not just rush and jump in the name of progress if you yourself are not convinced about what you are doing. The idea is whatever step you take in these journeys has to be done with faith and conviction. I mean, voluntarily investing your own will there. If not, remain where you are with conviction, with voluntarily choice. Do not force yourself into something that you do not trust, if you will. If there is any doubt of progress, one should stick to the former position. But that is not progress. Like implying, in some circumstances, you can remain there, but do not misunderstand that as progress either. You can remain there for a moment, but it's not a place to stay for eternity, because then that becomes comfort zone and you get stuck there. So at certain moments you may wait for a minute. Like if you are walking and I don't know, something start to throw bombs in the street, and you will like stay in one place, like let's see what happened next and what to do. But it's not that, oh no, now this situation is my new lifestyle and I will remain here forever. No, that's not. That's just a circumstantial pause, if you will. No? So he's saying that is not progress. Progress means to leave the former position and go ahead. But again, sometimes we may need to take some breath before the next step. Only one who is hopeful of a bright future, and this is one of my favorite quotes of Chastity Maharaj, he will say, your future is bright, your future is brilliant. But again, you have to have faith in that. So only one who is hopeful of a bright future should leave the former position and go to advance. And again, we in theory know our future is bright, in theory, and we should be running after that, again, running after the flute call. But also sometimes, to be honest and realistic in practice, we see ourselves not always running in that direction, because we may lose sight of the brightness of our future for whatever reasons, and we may have got distracted, and doubt may come, suspicion may come, and as Silas Maharaj will say, suspicion leads to suspension, and at that moment we'll be a little bit like cautious. Like you say, okay, there is place for that, but do not take that for progress again. So the more we advance, another way of expressing spiritual advancement is your hope for a bright future will increase more and more. Your realization of a bright future has come to my life, a brilliant ideal and cause is knocking on my door stronger and stronger. The more you will be willing to just go there without any consideration. But it's a gradual process till we reach that level of courage or something up higher and so on. So only one who is hopeful of a bright future should leave the former position and go to advance. Those who are of doubtful mentality, suspicious mentality, it is better for them to stick to their former position where they already have a consolidated foundation. So it's understandable. We cannot just force people, run and jump there, surrender. Sometimes, unfortunately, this has been done, like forcing surrender to people that are not convinced. Even the ones who are forcing others are not too much convinced themselves. So sometimes we try others to surrender so they convince us that that okay, this is okay. Or I mean, sometimes one thinks like this, okay, let's preach and convert the whole world. And sometimes that the background for that is, I'm not sure about what I'm doing, but if the whole world ends up doing that, there I must be in the right place. That's not necessarily universal compassion for others. It's just your own lack of faith that you need others to confirm you are in the right place. So sometimes it can take this form. You may try to force others into an unknown land, and for them that's a too scary prospect to take such a jump, a leap. So we shouldn't force that. Actually, we should encourage people to remain in a situation when they feel there is some consolidated foundation, but also do not fool them saying this is all. Just for the moment, it's okay for you, but at some point, progress needs to be made also. But if doubt is there, suspicion is there, you cannot force someone to surrender with doubt and suspicion. That won't be surrender, even though if externally takes the form of I've given everything or whatever. Internally, the doubts will create a much more dysfunctional situation, and in time, that will be unsustainable, totally unsustainable. So we don't want that. So Srila Maharaj concludes saying that people, the doubtful, the ones with certain doubtful nature in that moment, and he's not condemning them, and just analyzing what may happen at some point of our own journey. They should take their stand there. They should, again, wait in that consolidated, safe place, but not getting overtly attached to that. According to his own progress, such a person cannot but see that some things must be rejected and some things in front must be invited to come near. This is progress. With these principles in place, we can cultivate absolute chastity to our beloved Gurudev, recognizing that which he represents, and therefore recognizing his many manifestations along the progressive course of our spiritual life. So he concludes his reply with saying that with all the things that we have shared in place, considering this, we can cultivate this sense of absolute chastity to the self. It's not just, again, like a forced imposition, artificial thing, become chaste, surrender but understand, accept, go through all these nuances and naturally choose to culture this. He ends up saying, these are interesting thing, and with this in closing, in this way, recognizing, we will do that, recognizing that which he represents, he or she, and therefore recognizing his many manifestations along the progressive course of our spiritual life. So by ourselves as Sat Sisya, our proper disciples, in choosing to incorporate all the things, we will appreciate all that Sri Guru represents in our life. And we will in time realize Sri Guru is not just what I thought he was or she was, because we have some initial idea of what the Guru, but we should be willing again to update that notion and expand. And I realize, oh, the principle of Sri Guru, which is in itself quite complex, is not only this person, this individual, and that's Guru. He mentions his many manifestations we have to recognize that will come along our path. So yeah, we may have one Guru, Diksha Guru, but there are so many Siksha Gurus, for example, and at the same time, our Gurudev will appear in our life, manifest in so many circumstances and situations, and we should be able to recognize the principle of Sri Guru, no matter which form it takes. Again, form and substance. Like when my Guru Maharaj met Srila Siddhar Maharaj for the first time, and with this, I think it's a good closing. Of course, he before that he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada and received Harinam Diksha, Sannyas from Prabhupada, and so on. When Prabhupada passed away, Srila Prabhupada has said to my Guru Maharaj and other devotees, when I'm no longer here, you can take Siksha from my god brother B.R. Sridhar Maharaj from Navadvip. So he went there following what his Gurudev had said, and he told us that when he heard Srila Siddhar Maharaj, he was, and he read his books first of all, and after that he met him personally. He started crying. He couldn't stop crying because he was recognizing nobody apart from Prabhupada can turn my mind like he's doing. So here I'm finding Prabhupada again. Here's my Gurudev. Gurudev didn't go anywhere. Here's Guru principle manifesting in this particular individual, which is another individual entity with a different nature and style and so many differences, but at the same time, I'm finding the same principle, the same level of touching my heart. So here it is again. So again, it's the same Guru appearing in so many different forms, the same principle approaching us in life, and we should be willing to be honest, sincere enough to recognize that. It's not only if it comes in this form, with this style, saying these same words, because I remember some devotees say, no, we stopped going to Srila Siddhar Maharaj because he was saying some things in a different way as Srila Prabhupada say them. And say, of course, he won't just be like putting a cassette or tape and repeating the same thing like Prabhupada say. I mean, for that you have Prabhupada. So if Prabhupada sends you to someone else, it means he will say something different. It doesn't mean different, contrary, opposite. It's just different. I mean, we are different individuals. I mean, it's like, if I tell you go and speak with Madhu Mohan and then go and speak with Gokul Chandra, so they say they are different. Yeah, they are different. Yeah, we are not Advaitavadis. Everything is one or something. They are different. So, but you have to recognize the unity behind the diversity. So that's our philosophy. So anyhow, sorry for the extension, but some ideas we want to share the basis of this very beautiful discourse of Srila Siddhar Maharaj regarding chastity for proper disciple. I have extended already quite a lot, but if there are any questions, maybe briefly we can address. If there is any questions or comments you may like to share, we can go there. Yes.
It's really like a short question. So it seems to me that
Question may be short. I can't guarantee that the answer. This always happened. Yesterday, someone Radha Giridhari commented on, because I always hear this like, Maharaj, it's a short question. It's a short question, and she put, generally what someone says to Maharaj, it's a short question. I start to sit properly in my chair because I know a long answer. So you are invoking a long answer by saying that, just in case for you to know.
So as long as everything we do externally doesn't foster our inner growth, we're missing like a huge opportunity. It seems to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something about Nishta and Niyamagraha, and I think for a very long time I had this kind of idea of someone who is on the Nishta stage, someone who is serving 24 hours, doing so many things, and just being very occupied externally, but it it seems more to me more as a niyamagraha, because it may be unless there's inner base for that it can be sustained for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that all this passing to different stages of sadhana bhakti, it has to be very natural, and first it has to happen internally and then kind of like overflow to the external world and our activities. So is that correct? I understand. What I'm trying to say, actually, we can't fake going to different stages by doing something externally or pretending that we are somewhere that we are not.
Yeah, they're totally correct. It has to happen like organically. No, it's not just like copy paste of ecstatic symptoms or something. I mean, you can make a show, as we said the other day. You can go to a dramatic school and learn to cry and learn to roll on the ground in an artistic way, whatever. But you can convince others even who may be a little bit like innocent or naive, but the higher quarters, you won't enter there basically, you know, because you need, for this you need the words of Celestial Maharaj, you need also a visa. You don't only need the passport, and the visas will be bestowed by the place you want to go. If they do not agree, you won't be entered to, you won't receive your visa. So again, you can make a whole show here and convince many and get the passport as much, maybe who knows how. But the higher quarter, the ones who have really, they are tattvadarshins or seers of truth, the Bhakti Rakshaks, the guardian. Srila Samaras in one lecture, he says that when he narrates the famous story of how at the very end of his manifest pastime, Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta asked Srila Samaras, play chant, sing for me Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, this famous hymn of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And everyone took this idea, this invitation, like, oh, Guru Maharaj is not only inviting you to sing this song, but he's giving you entrance into the inner circle of service of Sri Rupa Manjari. No, they understood. And Srila Samaras in his humility say, no, I took that as he appointed me as a guardian at the gate, Bhakti Rakshak. And he said, and I won't allow anyone and everyone to enter. Like implying, there is some filter there, and you cannot cheat the higher realms, if you will. So yeah, all the things have to happen naturally, and we should be very careful of. That's something that sometimes happens to devotees, and that's a big source of discouragement. That is, they kind of over idealize where they should be at now, and they kind of wrongly identify like demand, expect this should be happening, and this should be happening has to do with, let's, I don't know, ruchi, and they are in an Artha-Nibrita Bhajan Kriya. So they are expecting something to happen that corresponds with 3 stages above, and that will never happen at that stage. So they get discouraged and they start to think, this is not working. Maybe bhakti is not effective, or I'm totally useless. I'm not deriving the real symptoms. So this is too much for me. So whatever the case, you get discouraged and stop practicing altogether. That can happen, but only because you misidentify the symptoms of the particular stage you are, and you're just like expecting something that will come maybe some years after, some lifetimes after. I don't know. So it's important to acknowledge where we are, as we spoke today before, with all its implications and with all the needs and needs repair, if you will, in that particular stage also, and the particular symptoms of that stage, which some of them may be even embarrassing, but at the same time they are glorious. It's a glorious embarrassment. For example, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I always say that in his Madhurya Kadambini, he depicts Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, which is the stage prior to Nishta. So Nishta sounds glorious and beautiful. And Mahaprabhu is saying, Kirtaniya Sada Hari Trinada Pisunich, all this has to do with Nishta. Oh, no, the grass will speak to me and will teach me humility, and the trees will teach me tolerance, and I will give respect to all. But again, that won't happen as magic. No, it's not like you have never tried that ever, and suddenly someone brings you the certificate, like you're a Nista, you start to see everything like it's not like this. You are gradually entering there by applying yourself in that context. It's not that I'm not trying to be as humble as a blade of grass, as tolerant as a tree, but suddenly I reach Nista. Now everything is in place and everyone is my guru and totally humble. It's not like that. So you start trying that, and at the beginning you will be failing in that for sure on some level, but that's how you are trying and learning and growing and so on. So Vishwanath Tagore says this anishtita stage before nishta is characterized by Utsamayi, Ganatarala, Niyama, Akshama, Tarangarangini. I won't enter into the details, but each one of these 6 stages are more embarrassing than the previous one. But at the same time, they are glorious because all of them have taken place in the context of bhakti. So it's not totally like embarrassing. Yeah, you have some naive initial enthusiasm, like when you begin anything, you are like, ah. But just because you are beginning anything, my first class of sitar, ah. But after second class, my fingers start to pain. It's getting difficult, and one may feel some like discouragement. Oh, this is too difficult. It's not for me. But the first class, maybe the teacher say, let's learn today Saregama Padani. And you learn them and you say, oh, it's not so difficult. I know how to, what this is about. But you don't have a clue. This is just, but we need that also. So again, then will become all the struggles and the mind and the desires, indecision, ghana tarala, and whatever, incapacity to sustain one's vows, or even tarangarangini, the tendency to enjoy the material byproducts that come from bhakti, followers, knowledge, and you get distracted by that. And again, it's embarrassing, but but interestingly, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, but that has to happen on one level or another. That's part of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. It's still Bhajana Kriya. It's still part of bhakti. It's not the goal, the ultimate goal to attain, but that's part of bhakti. So somehow it has to be embraced. It has to be integrated into a higher synthesis. So the point is, do not escape from that. Do not be in denial of that. Do not feel guilt or shame because of that and force yourself to be a bhava bhakta, totally transcendental, where you are not there and you have to deal with that first. So yeah, as much as one has that integrity, all the different stages will really unfold in a natural way. Again, it may take time. It's not just magic that in some years it's already there. It may take lifetimes, no problem. Someone once one devotee asked Sri Maharaj, if I in this lifetime I've started my life of bhajana and I take the thing really seriously, how much time will it take for me to reach Golok? And Sri Maharaj said, like, he thought for a moment, and said, 3 lifetimes, and the devotee was shocked. 3 lifetimes? Like, it's too much. And Srila Sivaras was even more shocked. Too much, too lifetime. Brahmanda Brahmiti Kona Bhagavan. You have been wandering from life without beginning, and now in 2 lifetimes you can reach such a high goal, and you're asking me this too much. This is nothing. Nothing. The more you, the more you, the more you realize the depth and the glory of the goal, the more you realize I'm not paying enough. The more you realize how big is what it wants to give itself to you, the more you realize I'm ashamed for having paying so little for this. So you will never think 3 lifetimes is so much. You will say, I'm ashamed of having paid so much. You will. The point is, the more you appreciate the nature of the goal, the more you will be willing to pay. And still you will think it's not. I'm not paying too much. Still, there's this famous pastime. Can I narrate that with this? I close the famous one, and I also like to share that it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Once Mukunda, one of the associates of Mahaprabhu, maybe you know that one, but no problem. 108 times we have to repeat that. He was chastised by Mahaprabhu in one moment because he was associating in certain parts that Mahaprabhu didn't consider proper. So he chastised Mahaprabhu. Mukunda was one of Mahaprabhu's close associates and singers and so on. He was seeing him on a daily basis. So you try to imagine what does it mean to meet Mahaprabhu every single day. No? So Mahaprabhu chastised him. And which was the chastisement? Mukunda cannot see me anymore. No more darshan, no more daily darshan. So he wanted to make a point. We will see. No? He behaved like very angry externally, but he wanted to teach something as the story unfolds. But you can imagine how Mukunda was totally devastated by the news. Because again, what does it mean to see Mahaprabhu, really see Mahaprabhu in every single sense of the term? And then after, what does it mean after seeing him, stop seeing him? Try to imagine that contrast. What does it mean to see God and then stop seeing God? What will happen to you after that? After seeing, because now we are not seeing him, but we continue our life somehow. But what does it mean to see him and then stop seeing him again? Oh, you are thrown into a pool of distress, basically, separation and so on. So this happened to Mukunda. He was totally devastated and dying in separation of Sri Chaitanya Dev. So his associates, Mahaprabhu's associates, took pity on him. You say like this? So they would try to intervene and facilitate the meeting of them again. But they saw that Mahaprabhu was really determined in that Mukunda. I don't want to see him. And they went to see, Mahaprabhu was not seeing Mukunda on a daily basis, so the devotees were going and seeing Mukunda on a daily basis, somehow to keep him alive, basically, as an extended delegation of Mahaprabhu himself being there somehow. Mahaprabhu was going toward the devotees. And Mukunda was crying and crying, and the only question he had in mind is, when that day will be mine again. When he will cross the path of my eyes. Nayana Patagami Bhavatume, or whatever. So at one point he said that to the devotees, can you ask one question to our Prabhu? And they say, yes, for sure. I have only one question. And the only question is when I will see him again, when he will give me his darshan again. That's the only reason for me to remain alive, to hear that answer, basically. So the devotees were really like moved, and they went to Mahaprabhu and said, we have gone to visit Mukunda. Mahaprabhu really strongly, what does he want? And we're like, he asked where you will give him your darshan again. And Mahaprabhu said, in a million lifetimes, looking like in another direction, million lifetimes. Next topic. So the devotees were like a thunderbolt entering, because they were thinking, now we will have to go and give that news to Mukunda, and we will be the ones killing him. Because he's just surviving for that darshan. If we say a million lifetime, we will be guilty of killing him eventually. And we don't want to kill him. So they were going back because they knew Mukunda is waiting for that. So they were asking themselves, you kill him, you kill him, like implying, you tell him, you tell, I don't want to kill him. So they finally arrived there, and Mukunda is asking, so have you asked him? And he again, remember, crying and thrown on the ground and just totally emaciated, devastated, waiting for that answer, and his pran just sustained by that little breath there. So we got to say yes. We asked and he replied. So what did he say? So someone basically courageous one took the word and say he said in a million lifetimes. They didn't want to cheat him also. He said in a million lifetimes you will see him again. So to the surprise of everyone, Mukunda starts to jump and cry and celebrate and sing and dance in ecstasy. So all the words were like totally, what's going on? I mean, he should be dying now. Maybe he has some problem in his ears and he didn't hear. He maybe hear 1 million nanoseconds or something. So again, they went to Mukunda, say, Mukunda, 1 million lifetimes. It's not that they want to kill him, but they want just to be sure he understood the proper idea. They say, 1 million lifetimes. And Mukunda say, yes, I hear properly. He continued celebrating. So they, why you're celebrating? 1 million, you know what's 1 million lifetime? You try to count. And he say, I mean, at least I already have the confirmation that I will see him again. So what's 1 million lifetimes of waiting for having such a darshan back in my life? It's nothing. I mean, if that's the price for such a darshan, waiting 1 million lifetimes, I'm still ashamed of paying so little, basically. So the words were like, he continued like, Jai Gaur Hari, Jai Satchidananda. So they returned. Mahaprabhu was waiting to see which was Mukunda's reaction. So they returned to Mahaprabhu. So he says, have you gone to Mukunda? Yeah. What did he say? So they narrate how he reacted to the whole thing. He starts telling. Mahaprabhu said, bring him immediately. Million lifetimes is already passed. Remember, Krishna is time personified. So if time personified wants to make 1 million lifetime over in a second, so that's the teaching of the history. He never said 1 million lifetime. That's too much. No, he said, oh, I'm still ashamed of paying so little. I mean, I have to celebrate. I already have the confirmation that will happen. And we received that same confirmation in such a generous way, 2-3 lifetimes. If you are serious, that will happen. I mean, while we wait, we are not waiting, we are celebrating our waiting, if you will, by embracing the process, which in itself is relishable. That's what Srila Samara said. I mean, we actually, the process in itself is relishable. So you don't have to rush into going somewhere else. I mean, you're already there. When you really act like that, you're already there, because bhakti is the means and bhakti is the goal. Like once someone asked my Guru Maharaj, when I will be free from this world? When you stop asking that question, he said. When you are so immersed in bhakti that mukti is no longer a concern for you, you are beyond even mukti. That's how it works. To reach the spiritual world, it's not just geographical movement, it's a state of consciousness, being there. And we start being there in the here and now, getting closer to that. So anyhow, some ideas. If there are any questions, I think we can stop here, because I already spoken quite a lot, but we can continue speaking these days. So thank you so much to all of you for your time, patience. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Shri Satnitai Chant Chinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Shri Ragopal Govindaram ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Preman Hariyo, Vancha Kalpataru Vyasya Kripa Sindhu Kevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Hari.